Why? Because they know you're different. You're not like the rest, and that both intrigues and confuses them. Women can't help but act weird when they recognize a Sigma male in the wild. It's instinctual, psychological, and often hilarious. Today, we're diving deep into the 10 weirdest things women do when they sense Sigma energy. Some will make you laugh, some will shock you, and some will confirm what you already knew. As Carl Jung once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. And when women meet a Sigma, oh, the reactions are next level. So, Sigmas, let's get into it. 1. They test your confidence. Women are naturally drawn to confidence and emotional strength. And one way they gauge a man's authenticity is through subtle tests. This isn't about manipulation. It's about instinct. A woman wants to know if the man in front of her is truly confident or just putting on an act. Enter the Sigma male. Unlike alpha males who assert dominance openly or beta males who seek approval, the Sigma operates on a different frequency. When a woman playfully challenges him, maybe teasing his tastes, questioning his opinions, or throwing out a sarcastic jab, she's watching closely for his response. Most men either try too hard to impress or get flustered. A Sigma, he simply smirks, unfazed, maybe tossing back an equally witty remark or letting silence do the talking. His energy says, I don't need to prove myself to you. And that is magnetic. Psychologically, women admire strength, not just physical, but mental and emotional. A man who isn't easily rattled shows he is secure in himself, and that's rare. It taps into a primal instinct. If he can handle social pressure effortlessly, he can handle life's bigger challenges. Pass the test, and she sees you as someone worth knowing, someone who isn't just another guy trying to win her over. Instead, she finds herself wanting to win you. That's the power of the Sigma. 2. They overcompensate with either shyness or boldness. Sigma males possess a rare and enigmatic energy that subtly disrupts the usual social equilibrium. Unlike alpha males who command attention with dominance, Sigmas create an unspoken gravitational pull, one that forces people to react, whether they intend to or not. Some women, especially those attuned to social hierarchies, will instinctively feel this shift and become unusually quiet. It's not that they dislike you. Rather, your presence is so potent that it unsettles their usual patterns of engagement. Without the typical social cues they rely on, they hesitate, unsure how to navigate the interaction. Their avoidance of eye contact isn't rejection. It's processing. On the other hand, some women will go to the extreme, suddenly laughing louder, talking faster, or positioning themselves as the center of attention. This isn't random. It's an unconscious attempt to reclaim the social balance that your Sigma energy has thrown off. When an anomaly enters the room, people either freeze or overcompensate. This is the power of the Sigma male. Your presence alone causes reactions, even without speaking. You're a disruptor in the best way possible. Not because you seek attention, but because your self-assured detachment challenges the very fabric of social interaction. Whether women go silent or loud, one thing is certain. They've noticed you. And in a world where most men blend into the background, that is the true mark of a Sigma's influence. 3. They start mirroring you. Ever noticed a woman subtly adjusting her body language to match yours? Maybe she starts leaning in when you do, adopts your speaking rhythm, or even mirrors your expressions. This isn't a coincidence. It's called mirroring, a subconscious psychological behavior that signals deep attraction and intrigue. Mirroring is rooted in the brain's mirror neurons, which fire when we observe and replicate someone else's actions. It's a fundamental way humans build connection and rapport. When a woman mirrors you, she's essentially signaling that I feel comfortable with you. I'm in tune with you. This happens instinctively when she admires or is drawn to someone. Pay attention to the details. If she adopts your hand gestures, laughs in a similar tone, or even echoes your choice of words, she's subconsciously aligning herself with you. This goes beyond simple attraction. It shows a desire to sync up emotionally and mentally. Interestingly, studies in social psychology reveal that mirroring boosts likability and trust. It's why skilled negotiators and charismatic leaders naturally reflect the body language of those they engage with. It creates an unspoken bond. So, if a woman is subtly matching your pace, posture, or speech patterns, take it as a strong, unspoken sign of interest. She's not just listening to you. She's feeling your presence and wants to connect on a deeper level. Mirroring isn't just imitation. It's admiration in action. 4. They become playfully competitive. Sigma males operate on a different wavelength, one that isn't fueled by competition or dominance, but by quiet confidence and self-sufficiency. This, ironically, makes them an even bigger challenge for women who are used to men, either chasing them or trying to assert dominance. The Sigma male doesn't do either, and that makes him an irresistible puzzle. Women are naturally drawn to strength, but they also have an instinct to test it. In the presence of a Sigma, they might challenge him in subtle ways, disagreeing just to see how he reacts, turning a casual game into a fierce battle, or even trying to outmatch his aura of mystery. It's a psychological game, often played unconsciously, as if they're thinking, if I can break his composure, I win. But here's the catch. Sigmas don't play games. They don't react emotionally. They don't seek validation. And they certainly don't get thrown off by petty competitions. Instead of rising to the bait, they remain calm, collected, and unfazed. This only intensifies the intrigue. A woman may try to out-Sigma a Sigma, but it's a losing battle because the very act of competing means she's already outside the Sigma mindset. In the end, her respect grows because she realizes she isn't dealing with an insecure man trying to prove something. She's dealing with a man who simply is, and that in itself. 5. They get uncharacteristically nervous around you. Your presence alone creates an emotional reaction, one that is subtle yet undeniable. People may not fully understand why they feel uneasy, but their body language betrays them. Watch closely for the little signs. A slight fidget, an unnecessary adjustment of their clothing, or a nervous touch to their hair. These are instinctive responses to a presence that unsettles them. When someone is in the company of a Sigma male, they often experience an internal conflict. On the surface, they may appear composed, but their subconscious reaction tells another story. Why does this happen? Sigma males exude a quiet confidence, an unshakable sense of self that doesn't require validation. This detachment disrupts social norms. Most people are used to seeking approval, engaging in small talk, or trying to establish dominance. But when faced with someone who simply is, without the need to impress or conform, it triggers an unease they can't quite explain. Psychologists call this status incongruence. People instinctively assess social hierarchies, yet Sigma males don't fit into the typical rankings of dominance or submission. Instead, they stand apart, radiating self-assurance without seeking attention. This unpredictability makes others hyper-aware of their own behavior, often leading to self-consciousness that struggle to maintain eye contact. That's because prolonged direct eye contact with an unwavering presence feels like exposure. They may smile, but notice if it's forced. Their body may lean in, yet their fingers fidget. These micro-reactions reveal what words do not, the silent impact of a Sigma male's presence. 6. They try to fix you. Sigma males are independent by nature, and that mysterious aura can drive some women. Why? Because human psychology is wired to crave understanding, especially when something or someone doesn't fit the usual mold. When a Sigma male enters the room, he doesn't seek validation, doesn't overshare, and certainly doesn't feel the need to explain himself. This, in turn, triggers a woman's curiosity. It's an unconscious challenge, a need to decode the enigma before her. She might start asking deep personal questions, like what's your biggest fear? Or have you ever been in love? These aren't just casual questions. They're her way of peeling back the layers and trying to figure out what makes you tick. Some women will take it a step further, subtly suggesting that you should open up more. They might say things like, "You're so hard to read," or "You should let people in more." But here's the kicker. Sigma males aren't closed off. They're just selective. They reveal themselves on their own terms, not because someone is pushing them to. A woman's curiosity is often a sign of attraction. The more she tries to understand you, the more invested she becomes. And in a world where most men wear their hearts on their sleeves, your self-sufficiency makes you an irresistible puzzle she desperately wants to solve. And they suddenly open up about their personal life. Sigma males have a rare and powerful ability. They create a judgment-free zone without even trying. Unlike most men who either seek validation or impose expectations, Sigmas remain detached yet present. With this unique energy signals something profound to women: safety without pressure. Women are highly intuitive, especially when it comes to reading emotional energy. When they sense that a man is analyzing them, forming opinions, or expecting something in return for attention, their guard goes up. But with a Sigma male, there's no hidden agenda. His self-sufficiency, emotional independence, and lack of neediness create a space where women feel comfortable being raw and unfiltered. This is why women often open up to Sigma males out of nowhere, sharing secrets, dreams, and personal struggles they wouldn't tell others. It's not about words. It's about energy. Your quiet confidence and emotional detachment make them feel. Interestingly, this dynamic also makes women deeply intrigued. A Sigma's detached presence is magnetic because it contrasts with what they usually experience. They're used to men either chasing them, trying to impress them, or playing mind games. With a Sigma, there's none of that. Instead, they encounter a rare, calm force. Someone who listens without judgment, someone who exists outside the usual social scripts. The paradox: while you're not seeking their validation, they find themselves drawn, and that, ironically, makes you irresistible. 8. They try to get a reaction out of you. Women respect men who maintain emotional control because it signals strength, confidence, and maturity. In a world where many people are easily triggered, a man who remains composed under pressure stands out. This is especially true for Sigma males, who are known for their unshakable demeanor. When someone tries to rattle you, whether by making a bold statement, bringing up a controversial topic, or even throwing a playful insult, they're testing your emotional. It's not always malicious. Sometimes it's a subconscious way of assessing whether you're truly as confident as you appear. If you flinch, get defensive, or overreact, it signals insecurity. But if you stay calm, offer a witty response, or simply smirk, you reinforce your status as an unshakable force. This is why women find emotionally controlled men attractive. It's not about being cold or indifferent. It's about demonstrating that your self-worth isn't dependent on external validation. Great leaders, from Marcus Aurelius to modern entrepreneurs, have thrived because of their ability to stay calm under pressure. Sigma males don't seek approval, and that's precisely why they earn respect. When someone tries to provoke you, see it as a compliment. They're acknowledging your presence, testing your strength, your best response, a knowing smile, a sharp comeback, or simply silence. Because nothing is more powerful. They start talking about other men. Some women will casually mention how many men are after them, or bring up an ex in conversation, not by accident, but as a subtle test. They want to see how much you care, how much you'll compete, or if you'll crumble under the weight of comparison. This isn't always malicious. It's often subconscious, a way to gauge a man's confidence. Most guys take the bait. They react emotionally, feel the need to prove themselves, or start subtly competing for validation. But a Sigma male, he doesn't play the game. Instead of reacting with insecurity or jealousy, he stays composed, nodding, sipping his coffee, and maybe offering a nonchalant, "That's nice." No anger, no tension, just why? Because a Sigma male's confidence doesn't come from external validation. He knows his worth isn't measured by how many men want her or who she dated before. His power lies in his detachment from emotional manipulation. This response frustrates those looking for an ego boost. A Sigma male remains the enigma, unmoved, unfazed, and utterly captivating. His energy commands respect, not through force, but through an unshakable sense of self. And that, ironically, makes him even more desirable. 10. They struggle to figure you out. Women are wired to categorize men into familiar archetypes: alpha, beta, player, nice guy. It helps them assess compatibility, dominance, and emotional safety. But when they encounter a Sigma male, The usual mental shortcuts fail. You don't fit the mold, and that frustrates them. They can't place you in a neat little box, and that alone makes you irresistible. Why? Because mystery is magnetism. The human brain craves patterns. It wants predictability. When women meet a Sigma, their subconscious starts working overtime. Is he confident or just indifferent? Is he interested or is he playing hard to get? Their quiet confidence, independence, and unpredictability leave them intrigued. And unlike the alpha, who asserts dominance, or the beta, who seeks approval, you remain a riddle, self-sufficient, enigmatic, and detached from social expectations. This forces women into a game of psychological decoding, making them hyper-aware of your actions, words, and even your silences. And here's the kicker. When a woman can't quite figure you out, she often assumes there's something deeply valuable beneath the surface. She'll invest time trying to understand you, and the more she does, the stronger your gravitational pull becomes. In a world full of open books, be the mystery novel no one can put down. Sigmas, if you've ever wondered why women act strangely around you, now you know. It's not you, it's your energy. The way you move through the world naturally disrupts expectations, and that's why you stand out. So, if you've experienced these things before, drop a comment below and let us know. And if you want to keep growing into the strongest version of yourself, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join this community of Sigmas living life on their own terms. Having said this,
he walks in, says nothing, and yet every head turns, not because he tries, because he doesn't. What women notice about Sigma males isn't loud or obvious. It's not the flash of a designer watch or the volume of his voice. It's something deeper, intangible, but unmistakable. This isn't about conventional attraction. It's not about the guy with the biggest muscles or the smoothest pickup lines. It's about a kind of presence that whispers instead of shouts. Sigma males exude a raw, grounded energy, what psychologists might call nonverbal dominance. Research into social dynamics shows that confident body language, unbroken eye contact, and relaxed posture often communicate higher status more effectively than words ever could. But for Sigma males, it goes even further. Their confidence isn't performative, it's internalized. They don't need validation, and that lack of need becomes magnetic. Women sense it immediately, not with their logic, but with their instincts. Evolutionary psychology suggests that women are biologically wired to detect traits associated with strength, independence, and self-sufficiency, especially in environments where resources and protection once meant survival. The Sigma male embodies that archetype. He's not interested in the social games, but paradoxically, that makes him the most intriguing player on the board. His silence speaks volumes. His stillness holds weight, and when he walks into a room, he carries the kind of presence that feels like a storm gathering on the horizon, calm, yet impossible to ignore. This is why women notice him, not for how he dresses, talks, or flirts, but for how he doesn't. He doesn't chase, he doesn't impress, And in a world full of noise, that rare silence, the confident kind, becomes deafening. So today, as we decode this magnetic aura, we're diving into the psychology behind the Sigma mystique, the primal cues that set him apart, and the silent power that captures attention without ever asking for it. Number one, his eyes don't linger. He makes eye contact but doesn't devour. He sees you, but he doesn't need you. That controlled gaze speaks volumes. It's not just a stare, it's a psychological statement. In a world where many men use eye contact as a display of dominance or a tool for seduction, the Sigma male engages differently. His gaze isn't desperate or predatory, it's discerning, composed, and self-contained. Studies in psychology suggest that prolonged eye contact can trigger the brain's social and emotional circuits, sometimes increasing perceived attraction or tension. But when the Sigma male locks eyes with someone, he doesn't do it to impress or manipulate. He does it to understand. His eyes don't roam hungrily, they evaluate. That's what makes it powerful. His presence says, I'm here. I'm aware, but I don't seek validation. This is intimidating to some and magnetic to others. It challenges expectations in a society where most people are used to overt interest or obvious emotional cues. The Sigma male's control over his gaze is an extension of his autonomy. He doesn't look at you to make you feel wanted. He looks at you to see who you really are. And if you're used to attention that feels needy or exaggerated, his calm detachment might feel unsettling. But that's the beauty of it. You're not being consumed by his attention, you're being observed quietly, intentionally, without pressure. That kind of restraint is rare. Evolutionary psychology tells us that eye contact evolved as a tool for bonding and cooperation, but also for threat detection and status negotiation. The Sigma male's gaze bypasses those primal games. He's not scanning for social rank or approval. He already knows who he is. That's why his gaze doesn't linger to conquer. It simply lands, assesses, and moves on if needed. And if it stays, it's because he chooses, not because he needs. This makes his eye contact both compelling and confusing. People can feel seen without being objectified. They can feel acknowledged without being pursued. And that paradox is what makes his presence unforgettable. In a culture overloaded with performative confidence and artificial charm, the Sigma male's steady eye contact is an act of rebellion. It says, "I'm not here to win you over, I'm here to be real." That subtle intensity carries more weight than any flashy smile or sweet talk ever could. It's not loud, but it's loud enough to change the whole tone of a room. Number two, his posture is still, not loud. He doesn't puff his chest or swing his arms to be noticed. His posture says, "I'm present, I'm enough." And that's exactly what sets him apart. In a world obsessed with noise, bravado, and performance, the Sigma male's quiet confidence is a rare currency. His body language is intentional, never excessive, never showy, but always grounded. It's a powerful form of nonverbal communication rooted in self-awareness and emotional intelligence, while others may overcompensate with exaggerated gestures or artificial charisma. The Sigma understands that true presence doesn't need to be advertised. Scientific studies on posture and psychology reveal that those who maintain upright yet relaxed postures are perceived as more trustworthy and competent. The Sigma uses this to his advantage, not to manipulate, but to reflect an inner truth. He's not trying to prove anything to anyone because his self-worth isn't measured by external validation. Instead, it radiates from within. You won't catch him adjusting his behavior for attention or approval. He walks into a room not to dominate it, but to simply be part of it with complete self-possession. That subtle energy commands more respect than shouting ever could. Think of the way lions move, graceful, deliberate, never frantic. That's the essence of Sigma body language. He listens more than he speaks, observes more than he reacts. And when he does speak or move, it's with precision and purpose. Women especially notice this. Numerous studies in evolutionary psychology suggest that calm confidence signals high status and emotional stability, traits deeply attractive on a subconscious level. But here's the twist. The Sigma doesn't project this to attract anyone. It just happens as a natural consequence of his authenticity. That's what makes his presence magnetic. It's not about puffing his chest, it's about aligning his body, mind, and spirit in quiet harmony. He's not trying to be the loudest in the room, he's trying to be the most centered. That's not weakness, it's strength refined. In a world constantly trying to prove itself, he remains untouched by the scramble. His stillness speaks volumes. He doesn't need to raise his voice or raise his chin. His presence, his energy, his calm posture, they do all the talking. And somehow, without even trying, everyone notices. Number three, his phone stays in his pocket. He isn't addicted to distraction. When he's out, he's fully out, not chasing digital attention. That's one of the rarest traits in today's hyper-connected world. In an era where most people can't go 5 minutes without checking their phones, scrolling endlessly, or chasing likes and views for validation, the man who resists this compulsion stands out like a silent mountain in the middle of chaos. He's not glued to a screen while pretending to be present. When he steps outside, whether into a forest trail, a quiet cafe, or even a crowded city, he immerses himself in the environment, not in a digital feed. Psychologists have warned for years that our brains are becoming rewired by constant exposure to dopamine-triggering apps. Every ping, every notification, every new scroll delivers a small hit of pleasure, similar to what happens with gambling or even certain drugs. This creates a feedback loop that many people find hard to escape, but not him. He values presence over performance and stillness over stimulation. This isn't just preference, it's discipline. Neuroscience tells us that attention is one of our brain's most limited resources, and it guards it like a king protects a throne. He chooses intentional living over reactive existence. While others are chasing viral moments, he's building quiet momentum in the real world, learning, observing, and evolving. His ability to delay gratification and to resist the easy thrill of distraction makes him formidable. And here's the kicker. When he speaks or shares something, it hits harder. Why? Because it wasn't diluted by noise. It came from focus, clarity, and real thought. It's no coincidence that some of the most successful and respected figures in history, Einstein, Marcus Aurelius, and Nikola Tesla, prized solitude and focused attention. They understood what modern research now confirms. Uninterrupted deep work leads to brilliance. So when this man chooses to disconnect from the artificial urgency of the digital world, he's not being antisocial. He's reclaiming his time, his mind, and his soul. He's present in a way that makes people uncomfortable because they're reminded of how absent they are. While others fear boredom, he sees it as a doorway to insight. While others distract themselves into mediocrity, he centers himself into excellence. That's not just refreshing, it's revolutionary. Number 4, he listens without waiting to speak. Rare, powerful. He listens not to reply, but to understand or to decide if it's even worth replying. That's the silent strength of the Sigma male. In a world that rewards noise and speed, Sigma men move with quiet calculation. Their listening isn't passive, it's an art form. While most people engage in conversations as a performance, eager to speak, to impress, to dominate, Sigma males approach dialogue as an opportunity to gather data, to observe, and to discern. Their silence isn't awkward, it's intentional. Psychology calls this a skill that's often taught in therapy rooms and leadership seminars, but for the Sigma male, it's instinctual. He absorbs not just words, but also tone, body language, hesitations, and contradictions. He knows that people often reveal more through what they say. And while others interrupt to make a point or prove something, the Sigma stays still, calculating whether the exchange even deserves his energy. You see, Sigmas don't chase validation through conversation. They're not concerned with being liked or accepted in social groups. That's what makes them unpredictable and magnetic. When they do speak, people listen, because their words are rare, deliberate, and often razor sharp. There's a psychological phenomenon known as the quiet power effect. When someone who rarely speaks finally does, their voice carries more weight. Sigma males embody this. They have trained themselves to be comfortable in silence, and that discomfort you feel when they pause, that's where their dominance lies. Their silence becomes a mirror, forcing others to confront their own insecurity. And when the Sigma respond, it's not to argue, it's to clarify truth. He doesn't get pulled into debates or emotional traps because he's already listened long enough to see the game being played. This makes him a master in negotiation, leadership, and interpersonal strategy. In a time where everyone wants to be heard, the Sigma man understands the power of speaking unless it matters. He filters nonsense from substance, vanity from vulnerability, and noise from truth. Listening, for him, isn't about approval or politeness, it's about discernment. He's not here to fill silence, he's here to learn from it, rule through it, and when necessary, speak through it. That's what makes him rare. That's what makes him powerful. Number 5, he smiles with restraint, not fake charm, no excessive grinning, just calm recognition, a subtle nod. That's his language. In a world that celebrates loud personalities and flamboyant entrances, the Sigma male remains quietly distinct. He doesn't rely on performative friendliness to make an impression. He understands something that many miss. True power doesn't need to be broadcast. It's felt. When he enters a room, he doesn't need to plaster on a smile or throw around forced compliments. Instead, he offers presence. His body language speaks volumes, a calm gaze, a composed posture, and at most a slight nod that acknowledges others without surrendering his personal space. This isn't rudeness, it's intentional energy conservation. Psychologically, subtle, controlled expressions like the nod are associated with self-confidence and inner calm, traits that naturally draw people in without him having to say a word. Evolutionary biology even supports this. In ancient tribal settings, dominant males didn't have to assert dominance with over-the-top behavior. The truly respected men were those who could control their emotions and reactions, commanding attention through quiet certainty. That subtle nod, it's not just a greeting, it's a code. It says, I see you, but I'm not trying to impress you. It's a filtered form of communication, stripped of social fluff. The Sigma male knows that charisma without authenticity is manipulation, and he wants no part of that. So he speaks in gestures that align with his nature. His eye contact isn't prolonged or challenging, it's respectful and grounded. His smile, when it appears, is rare and real. That's why it feels powerful. The absence of forced charm makes his interactions feel like quiet respect, not performance. And this drives people crazy in the best way. It disarms them. They're used to peacocks in suits and loud laughter trying to win approval. But with him, there's no performance, just presence. This doesn't mean he's cold or arrogant. In fact, studies on introverted yet emotionally intelligent men suggest they often build deeper trust over time because their interactions feel more genuine. So, when a Sigma male gives you that calm recognition, don't misread the simplicity. That subtle nod is a signal of control, confidence, and peace, a rare trifecta in today's overstimulated world. And in that moment you understand something. Sometimes silence and sincerity are more powerful than 1,000 empty words. Number 6. He doesn't fidget, no restless movements, no nervous gestures. His stillness reveals control, and control attracts. In a world that's constantly buzzing with noise, distractions, and people fighting to be noticed, the Sigma male's stillness stands out like a mountain in the middle of a storm. He doesn't fidget or pace, nor does he feel the need to fill silence with small talk or exaggerated gestures. Instead, he remains composed, calm, calculated, and deeply aware of his surroundings. This level of self-control isn't an accident. It's a cultivated mindset that stems from inner confidence, emotional discipline, and high self-awareness. Psychology tells us that people unconsciously associate physical stillness with authority and competence. Think of how a lion doesn't need to roar to prove its power. It simply watches, waits, and moves only when necessary. That's the Sigma male. His body language is minimal but intentional. He doesn't cross his arms out of insecurity or shift his weight nervously. He simply occupies space with quiet dominance. This kind of presence is magnetic because it signals mastery of the self, a rare trait in today's hyperreactive world. Research in nonverbal communication reveals that people who exhibit fewer anxious behaviors are often perceived as more trustworthy, intelligent, and powerful. The Sigma male, by exuding calm and being unbothered by social expectations, taps directly into this psychological effect. He's not performing for attention, and that's precisely why he draws it. People are intrigued by those who don't seek validation, who are perfectly fine being silent in a world addicted to noise. His lack of visible tension gives off a mysterious aura. Women interpret it as confidence and stability. Men see it as strength and composure. This is not about being emotionless. It's about emotional control. It's about understanding that the loudest one in the room is often the weakest, and that true power flows silently. The Sigma male doesn't need to posture because his stillness does the talking. Every deliberate breath, every unhurried motion communicates, I am in control of myself, and I don't need to control anyone else to prove it. That kind of control is rare, and rarity, as always, is irresistible. Number 7. His style is clean but understated. No loud brands or trends, neutral colors, minimalist accessories. Function first, then form. That's how you know you're in the presence of a Sigma male. His appearance doesn't scream for attention, it whispers confidence. While most people dress to impress others, the Sigma dresses to impress only himself. His wardrobe is intentional, not performative. He doesn't need oversized logos or flashy designer tags to validate his worth. Instead, he gravitates toward timeless pieces that prioritize utility and comfort without sacrificing style. Think well-fitted jeans, classic plain tees, boots that can take a beating, and jackets that serve in both city streets and wilderness trails. There's an almost military precision to how he chooses what to wear. Every item has a purpose, and that purpose always aligns with his personal philosophy. Simplicity equals strength. In a world obsessed with the next fashion wave, the Sigma remains unmoved. His minimalist fashion choices reflect his inner values: clarity, efficiency, and self-reliance. And this isn't just preference, it's rooted in psychology. Studies have shown that men who wear neutral and functional clothing are often perceived as more competent and trustworthy. The Sigma knows this intuitively. He doesn't dress for the group, he dresses for the mission. His style says, I'm not here to blend in, but I'm not here to stand out either. I'm here to move forward. Even his accessories follow suit: a matte black watch, a worn-in leather wallet, a canvas backpack with just the essentials. Each item is a tool, not an ornament. It's not about trends, it's about timelessness. The Sigma male understands that the loudest person in the room is often the most insecure. So while others chase validation through outward displays, he invests in internal growth. His style is a reflection of that silent evolution. So the next time you see someone who seems understated but unshakably composed, who wears purpose like armor and simplicity like a crown, know that you're not just looking at his clothes, you're reading a code, a way of life that values essence over appearance. That's the Sigma signal, quiet on the outside, unwavering on the inside. Not flashy, but unforgettable. Number 8. He disappears after making an impression. Just when curiosity peaks, he vanishes. Not to play games, but because he has other missions. And mystery lingers longer than presence. This behavior, often misunderstood, is deeply rooted in the psychology of the Sigma male archetype. Unlike extroverted types who thrive on attention and affirmation, Sigma males are introspective strategists who operate on a different frequency. Their sudden disappearance is not manipulation, it's a recalibration. Driven by purpose and independence, Sigma males don't linger where their presence isn't necessary or valued. In fact, psychological studies show that mystery and unpredictability increase attraction and intrigue, something known as the scarcity principle in behavioral science. The less someone is available, the more valuable their presence seems. This is not by design, but by default. Sigma males are naturally wired to detach from noise, chase solitude, and pursue missions others rarely see. They know that overstaying dulls impact. Like a comet streaking the sky, it's not the duration that captivates, it's the rarity. And so he leaves before the world gets too familiar with his light. In his silence, questions echo. In his absence, his presence magnifies. Not everyone will understand it, but that's exactly the point. They won't admit it. In fact, many might not even realize why. But the moment a Sigma male walks into a room, something shifts. It's not about flashy clothes, loud entrances, or smooth talk. It's the silence that follows him like a shadow. In a society obsessed with noise and validation, the Sigma's quiet confidence disrupts the norm. Studies in behavioral psychology suggest that individuals who exhibit calm detachment and high self-assurance often project the strongest presence without saying a word. This magnetic stillness taps into a primal intrigue. Women notice not because he tries, but because he doesn't have to. Why do women find themselves drawn to Sigma males without even knowing why? Picture this. You're just minding your business, quiet, calm, absorbed in your world, and suddenly you catch her gaze. It's not the result of a cheesy pickup line or flashy display. It's something deeper, something primal. Women are naturally attracted to what psychologists call non-verbal dominance. This is the type of energy that Sigma males exude, an effortless mix of confidence, independence, and mystery that bypasses words and hits straight at the subconscious. Unlike alpha males who dominate socially or beta males who seek validation, Sigmas walk a different path, alone, but not lonely. This self-sufficiency triggers curiosity and admiration. Studies in evolutionary psychology suggest that women often respond strongly to men who show resourcefulness, emotional control, and self-assurance, traits deeply embedded in Sigma behavior. Your unpredictability adds to the intrigue. You don't play the typical games, you're not available on demand. This makes women lean in, trying to decode your silence. The Sigma male's independence signals strength, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And let's not ignore that psychological principle called the reward uncertainty effect. When someone is unpredictable, the brain releases more dopamine. This makes interactions with you feel more exciting, more rewarding, even addictive. So while you're sipping your coffee in silence, seemingly indifferent, your aura is doing all the heavy lifting. You become a puzzle she wants to solve, a story she wants to read, a challenge she didn't know she craved. That's the power of the Sigma frequency. And it's why women can't look away, even when you say nothing at all. Number 1, the alpha energy without the ego. When you walk into a room like you own it, but you're not trying to prove anything, people take notice, especially women. Why? Because confidence without arrogance is one of the most magnetic traits a man can possess. Let's break it down. Silent confidence, also known as non-verbal dominance, is a well-documented psychological phenomenon. Studies in social psychology show that body language, posture, and eye contact often speak louder than words. When you walk tall with calm composure and a relaxed demeanor, it sends a clear message: I'm secure in who I am. You're not puffing your chest or bragging, you're grounded. That kind of presence is rare and powerful. Women are highly attuned to social cues. Evolutionarily speaking, they're wired to detect traits of leadership, strength, and self-assurance. Not because they're looking for a knight in shining armor, but because those traits signal emotional stability and high value. A man who doesn't need to show off or beg for attention is signaling that he has options, and more importantly, that he values himself. Now here's where it gets interesting. Most guys overcompensate. They speak loudly, name drop, or try to impress, but that desperation is transparent. You, on the other hand, are different. You don't chase, you attract. This paradox, being confident but not needy, open but mysterious, is irresistibly intriguing. Psychologists call it the reward uncertainty effect. When someone can't quite figure you out, their brain lights up with curiosity and anticipation. It's like a dopamine hit. You're not playing games. You're simply not giving it all away up front. And here's the kicker. Confidence without arrogance communicates self-respect. It tells the world, I'm not here to prove myself to anyone. I already know my worth. That subtle, almost effortless vibe, it drives women wild because it's rare, genuine, and deeply attractive. So the next time you walk in and say nothing, but your presence says everything, know this: they noticed. And they'll be thinking about it long after you've left the room. Number 2, you're a master of silence. Women are used to men who overshare, overtalk, and oversell themselves. But Sigma males, you operate on a different frequency. You say less, but your silence speaks volumes, and that right there is your superpower. In today's hypersocial, fast-talking world, silence is rare, and anything rare gets noticed. While others scramble to prove their worth with endless chatter, the Sigma male knows the value of mystery. Neuroscience even supports this. Studies show that when people don't have all the information, their brains work overtime to fill in the gaps. So when you're calm, quiet, and composed, others automatically assign depth and complexity to you, even if you haven't said a word. Your silence becomes your strategy. It's not about being aloof or rude, it's about being deliberate. You let others come to you. You make eye contact and let your gaze do the talking, subtle, steady, and confident. Psychology tells us that sustained, purposeful eye contact increases attraction and trust. And when you pause before speaking, you demonstrate thoughtfulness and restraint, two qualities that scream leadership. When you do speak, every word carries weight. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. This minimalist communication style echoes the philosophies of famous historical figures. Think Bruce Lee, who said, "Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own." Sigma males embody that same principle in conversation. What makes this so magnetic to women? The answer is rooted in human nature. Mystery is attractive because it triggers curiosity. It suggests you're not desperate for validation, that you're selective, confident, and self-possessed. And in a world flooded with attention seekers, that kind of restraint is magnetic. In short, Sigma males reverse the typical script. Instead of begging for attention, you let people lean in. Instead of oversharing, you let your presence speak. Your silence is not emptiness, it's intentional space that invites intrigue. You become the puzzle people want to solve, and that's what sets you apart. While others shout to be noticed, you master the art of saying more with less. And nothing, not charm, not status, not even looks, is more attractive than that. Number 3, you choose freedom over validation. Most men grow up wired to seek external validation. From childhood trophies to social media likes, society conditions men to chase approval. Many shape their lives around this need, posting selfies for attention, boasting about achievements, and adjusting behavior to stay liked. But Sigma males, they operate on a different frequency. Sigma males are the architects of their own freedom. They're self-reliant and intrinsically motivated, meaning they don't need outside applause to feel worthy. According to self-determination theory and psychology, people driven by intrinsic motivation, like Sigmas, achieve deeper satisfaction than those chasing extrinsic rewards. This inner alignment makes them emotionally independent, unpredictable, and ironically magnetic. Consider this, when most guys flood her DMs, you're off on a solo road trip, camping in the mountains, or immersed in a book. You go days without texting back, not to play games, but because you're genuinely recharging. That absence doesn't create doubt, it creates intrigue. Women notice. Why? Because it challenges everything they're used to. In a culture where many men revolve around women's attention, double texting, oversharing, over-pursuing, you're the outlier. You don't orbit, you're your own celestial body, radiating quiet strength. This nonchalance isn't indifference, it's balance. It says, I value connection, but I'm complete without it. That paradox is psychologically attractive. In fact, studies in evolutionary psychology suggest women are drawn to men who display autonomy and non-neediness. It signals high value. Your unpredictability isn't a flaw, it's your power. You don't explain your every move. You don't seek permission to live your truth, and that makes your presence rare, like a comet blazing across her sky. She doesn't know when you'll appear again, but when you do, it's unforgettable. In a world filled with noise, your silence speaks volumes. In a world desperate for attention, your solitude commands it. And in a world of followers, you lead, quietly, confidently, and alone. That's Sigma energy. And it leaves an impression no algorithm can measure. Number 4, you're untouched by peer pressure. Peer pressure, that's cute. Sigma males don't just shrug it off. They outright laugh in its face. But why is that? It's because Sigma males live by a different rule book, one that isn't written by the crowd, but by their own inner compass. Peer pressure is a social phenomenon where individuals feel compelled to conform to the behaviors, attitudes, or styles of their peers to fit in or gain approval. Studies have shown that humans are wired to seek social acceptance. Our brains release dopamine, a feel-good chemical, when we belong to a group. So naturally, many people find themselves swayed by trends, fashions, or group activities. But Sigma males, they're a different breed. They observe the crowd from the sidelines instead of jumping in. They don't need validation through the latest trends or social rituals, whether it's refusing to drink just because everyone else is, or choosing their own style rather than dressing to fit a mold. Sigma males prioritize authenticity over approval. They don't follow the crowd, they watch it, analyze it, and decide if it aligns with their own values and vision. This independence is magnetic to women and others alike. There's something deeply attractive about someone who knows who they are so thoroughly that they don't feel the need to apologize for it. It's not about arrogance, it's about unshakable self-awareness and confidence. Research in social psychology points out that true confidence, rooted in self-acceptance and clarity of purpose, is far more appealing than superficial traits like physical appearance. That's why an unshakable sense of self is hotter than abs. So when peer pressure comes knocking, the Sigma male's answer isn't just no, it's a quiet, confident smile. Because his path is carved by vision, not noise. And that's strength, that's backbone, that's the essence of the Sigma male. Number 5, your eyes see through nonsense. Have you ever noticed how sometimes when you simply look at a woman, she suddenly feels a bit awkward or self-conscious? It's almost like your gaze can see through the surface, like an X-ray vision revealing the real essence beneath. This isn't magic. It's all about the intense intuition that Sigma males naturally possess. Sigma males are known for their high emotional intelligence and intuitive abilities. Unlike most people who only hear what's spoken, Sigmas pick up on what's left unsaid. They read body language, notice subtle shifts in tone, and sense the underlying energy in a conversation. This heightened perception makes them exceptional at reading between the lines and understanding people on a deeper level. Women sense this unique quality immediately. It's not about being dazzled by physical appearance or superficial charm. Sigma males instinctively scan for authenticity. This emotional radar, this intensity of presence can make others feel exposed. When someone feels truly seen beyond their surface facade, it can cause a bit of discomfort or even fascination. People might become self-conscious because they're not used to being perceived so deeply, but at the same time, it can be addicting to feel genuinely understood. Psychological studies on social perception confirm this effect. When people feel deeply understood or seen, it triggers a mix of vulnerability and connection, which can be both unsettling and captivating. Sigma males naturally create this dynamic just by being themselves. This intuitive insight also allows Sigma males to see through social games and pretenses quickly. When a woman realizes she's being met with genuine perception, two things usually happen. She either steps up her own authenticity or retreats. Either way, the Sigma male remains unfazed, grounded in his own self-awareness and emotional clarity. In essence, the powerful gaze of a Sigma male is more than just a look. It's a silent language of understanding, authenticity, and emotional depth that few can resist. Number 6, you're deeply purpose-driven. One thing women notice almost immediately about a Sigma male is his laser focus, not on chasing after them, but on chasing purpose. This is a fundamental trait that sets Sigma males apart. Rather than spending energy on the social chase, Sigma males dedicate themselves to mission mode living. Whether it's launching a business, mastering a skill, or exploring new horizons, their drive is toward continuous self-improvement and meaningful progress. Why is this so magnetic? Psychology explains it well. Humans are naturally drawn to people who have clear direction and goals. It's an evolutionary instinct. Being around someone who's moving forward signals strength, stability, and potential. It's the difference between a lone wolf lost in the woods and a leader forging a path. People, including women, want to be part of something bigger, something purposeful. This innate attraction to ambition and drive is scientifically backed by studies on social status and mate selection, showing that individuals with clear goals tend to be perceived as more desirable partners. But here's the kicker. Sigma males don't need to brag or boast about their achievements. They live their purpose quietly, letting their actions speak louder than words. This silent confidence sends a powerful message. I don't need validation. I am already building my legacy. Women pick up on this vibe instantly, sensing that if they want to be part of his life, they need to contribute meaningful value themselves. This mindset isn't arrogance. It's about having standards and respecting yourself enough to demand a relationship based on mutual growth and respect. In other words, it's not about chasing validation from others. It's about chasing purpose and attracting those who align with your vision. So if you want to embody the true Sigma energy, focus less on the chase and more on your mission, because when you're genuinely chasing purpose, everything else falls into place naturally. Number 7, you radiate control even in chaos. You know what's even more impressive than a Sigma male under pressure. Most people, when faced with stress or chaos, tend to panic, freeze, or lose control. But a true Sigma male reacts differently. Instead of reacting impulsively, he remains calm and collected. This calmness is not just about emotional control, it's a deep-rooted stillness that acts like an anchor in the middle of a storm. Psychologically, staying calm under pressure is a sign of emotional intelligence. It means you can regulate your own emotions even when the external environment is chaotic. Neuroscience shows that this kind of composure activates the prefrontal cortex, the brain's center for rational thinking, allowing you to make better decisions under stress. This calm energy naturally draws others in, especially women. Evolutionarily speaking, women are wired to recognize reliable and steady partners, those who don't crumble under stress. This trait signals strength, protection, and leadership. In fact, studies on attraction reveal that people tend to trust and feel safer with individuals who remain unshaken in emergencies. So when you breathe deeply, maintain your composure during arguments or crises, you're sending a powerful non-verbal message: I've got this. This magnetic energy not only leads but attracts. It shows you're someone who can handle life's unpredictability without losing yourself, and that's truly irresistible. Number 8, you're undeniably authentic. You are you. No filter, no act, no fake smiles. This simple statement carries an enormous weight in a world that often demands masks and performances. Being truly authentic means living in alignment with your deepest truth, without bending it to fit others' expectations or social scripts. Psychologists agree that authenticity correlates strongly with psychological well-being and emotional resilience. When you are real, you connect with others on a genuine level that no pretense can mimic. You don't try to be liked, you don't play roles, you don't pretend. This isn't about being rude or careless, but about honoring who you are at the core. People, especially women, can sense when someone is authentic versus when they're just acting. Authenticity has a magnetic quality because it communicates confidence and self-acceptance. Studies in social psychology show that people tend to trust and respect those who are honest, even when the truth is uncomfortable or disappointing. Saying no when it matters, setting boundaries, and sometimes disappointing people isn't easy, but it's necessary. It shows that your self-respect comes before approval, which commands respect in return. Boundaries protect your energy and allow you to live intentionally, not reactively. Those who master this skill tend to have healthier relationships and stronger personal integrity. Being real might not make you popular in every circle, but it makes you unforgettable. In a sea of replicas, standing firm in your truth makes you a beacon. The glow of authenticity isn't something you switch on and off. It's a consistent light that attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. So embrace being unapologetically you. It's your greatest power. So Sigmas, here's the truth. You don't try to be noticed. You just are. The lifestyle you've chosen, independent, purpose-driven, deeply authentic, it disrupts the norm. It shakes up people's expectations. It confuses some, intimidates others, but inspires many. Women notice you for who you are, not who you're pretending to be. And that right there is your power. So if you found this breakdown insightful, motivating, or just plain entertaining, hit that like button, drop a comment with which point hit you the hardest, and don't forget to subscribe. Join this community of Sigmas and continue growing into your most authentic, powerful self. Until next time, stay true and stay Sigma. And stay Sigmas. If she utters this one sentence, stop everything, because what comes next could shatter more than just your trust. Have you ever sat in silence, staring at her words, replaying her tone, thinking something's off? That's not paranoia, that's pattern recognition. And Sigmas, your instinct is rarely wrong. Today we are peeling back the mask of the darkest betrayal, not just cheating, but betrayal with someone close to you, a friend, a co-worker, even a brother, someone you once defended to you. While they quietly crossed the line, you never thought they would. Why does this happen to Sigma males more than most? Because you're different. You're composed, calculating, emotionally intelligent, and difficult to manipulate. That makes you a target. According to psychologists, manipulative people often test boundaries with those who appear emotionally resilient, because they view it as a challenge. Your independence, mystery, and self-control attract people, both admirers and enemies. Women feel drawn to your calm confidence. But if they aren't grounded, they can mistake your emotional distance for disinterest. That's when they start leaning on someone else. And if that someone else is already in your circle, the betrayal runs deep. It usually starts with one phrase: he's just a friend. Those 4 words are often the camouflage for something more. University studies on infidelity show that emotional cheating frequently begins with familiarity, shared spaces, common friends, daily contact. So when your gut tightens at her tone, or when she suddenly brings up a friend more often than usual, pay attention. Behavior is the truth. Words are just decoration. Let's break this down and train your instinct to detect the subtle signs, the conversational red flags, and the exact tactics used to confuse your radar, because Sigmas don't chase drama, but we sure as hell know how to end it. Point 1. You're being insecure. If she ever hits you with "you're being insecure," right after you bring up a concern, pause. Take a breath. Rewind the tape. Replay that moment in your mind like a forensic investigator, not a heartbroken Romeo. Why? Because that phrase right there, that's emotional deflection 101. In psychology, this tactic is called a manipulative strategy, where someone makes you question your sanity, your memory, or your perception of events. Cheaters and manipulators are masters at this game. They flip the script, paint themselves as victims, and turn your rational observations into emotional overreactions. But Sigmas, you're not built to chase drama. You're wired for logic, independence, and clarity. The lone wolf doesn't howl at every passing shadow. He watches, he calculates, and he moves with purpose. Now let's get real. Noticing repeated late-night texts, dodgy explanations, sudden changes in routine, those aren't insecurity alarms. They're a skill rooted in your psychology as a Sigma male. Studies in behavioral science show that humans have evolved with finely tuned social instincts. When something consistently feels, your intuition, fueled by observable facts, is trying to protect you. In fact, the human brain has something called a region involved in detecting errors and inconsistencies. When your gut tells you something's wrong, it's not baseless fear. It's often your brain picking up on micro cues and irregularities that your conscious mind hasn't even processed yet. So let's reframe this. It's not insecurity, it's being emotionally calm doesn't mean being naive, and being logical doesn't mean ignoring your instincts. As a Sigma, your edge lies in your ability to blend intellect and instinct, quiet observation with calculated response. So next time someone tries to flip your awareness into weakness, remind yourself you're not overthinking, and that's what makes you dangerous. Stay sharp, Sigmas. Point 2, he's just like a brother to me. Ah yes, the classic line, he's just a friend. Or the even more deceptive upgrade, he's like a brother. Now, Sigmas, you operate differently. You're confident, self-contained, and you don't play the controlling boyfriend game. You give space, you respect privacy, and you don't hover like a helicopter. But here's the catch. Not everyone is as honest as you. And when someone's hiding something, they often hide it in plain sight, behind harmless-sounding labels. Psychologists call this when people use familiar terms like brother or friend to lower suspicion. Why? Because no one questions a sibling relationship. It's a clever tactic that plays on social norms. Who would be suspicious of a brother? Well, a Sigma should be, because Sigma males don't just observe behavior, they decode it. Here's what to look for. If she lights up every time he texts, that's a red flag. Dopamine spikes, the chemical that makes you feel pleasure, can literally cause a person's face to brighten when they hear from someone they like. If she gets quiet or changes the subject when you ask about him, that's not privacy, that's avoidance. And if his name comes up in random, unnecessary conversations, that's not an accident. That's emotional leakage. These are not isolated incidents. They're part of a behavioral pattern. And Sigmas, you don't just read signs, you analyze them. You know that trust is built on consistency. And if her words don't match her actions, you take note. Let's be real. Not every woman who says he's like a brother is lying, but patterns matter. Repeated behavior, subtle avoidance, and emotional reactions, they all tell a story louder than words. In the end, Sigmas trust their intuition, but they also verify. You're not paranoid, you're perceptive. You don't confront out of insecurity, you observe out of intelligence. So remember, when something feels off, it probably is. Trust isn't given blindly, it's earned through truth, not titles. Point 3, you're overthinking things. Let's translate that. Stop noticing things I hoped you'd ignore. For the Sigma male, thinking deeply isn't just a habit, it's second nature. It's how you navigate life, people, and especially relationships. You don't just listen to words. You observe tone, micro-expressions, pauses, and unspoken energy. This isn't paranoia, this is emotional intelligence on steroids. Now let's talk about cheaters. Studies in psychology reveal that deceptive individuals prefer partners who don't probe too much. They're more comfortable around those who accept surface-level explanations without asking too many questions. They thrive in environments where accountability is minimal and introspection is absent. But you're different. You ask, why did she suddenly stop texting the way she used to? Why is her mood warm one day and cold the next? Why did her story about where she was last night suddenly change? That's not overthinking, that's pattern recognition, and it's something most Sigma males do instinctively. You see, what others call overthinking is often just critical thinking plus intuition. And in relationships, that combo can reveal red flags that most people miss until it's too late. So when a woman tries to dismiss your questions with "you're overthinking," you should hear an internal alarm go off. Not because she's guilty by default, but because the statement itself is a tactic. It can be used to shame your instincts and lower your defenses. Remember, gaslighting often starts with subtle phrases that cause you to doubt your own perception. But if you're a Sigma male, doubting your perception is like asking a hawk to fly blind. It's not just unnatural, it's dangerous. So don't apologize for your depth. Don't second-guess your intuition. In a world where manipulation often wears a pretty smile, thinking too much might just be your best line of defense. Zoom in. You're probably right. Point 4, I don't owe you an explanation. Sigmas, let's get philosophical. You don't control people. That's beneath you, but you do demand respect and honesty. Now here's the twist. When she disappears without a word, texts a friend late at night, or lies about where she was, and then tells you she doesn't owe you an explanation, she's not wrong. Technically, she's right. Nobody owes anyone anything in the strictest sense of personal freedom, but let's break this down. In relationships, there's an unspoken social contract based on trust, mutual respect, and emotional safety. This isn't about ownership, it's about partnership. Sigmas don't chase, beg, or plead. They observe behavior and make calculated decisions. If someone's secrecy over transparency, that's not just a red flag, that's a full-blown signal flare. Psychologically, trust is one of the foundational pillars of a secure relationship. According to psychologist Dr. John Gottman, relationships that lack trust often dissolve in patterns of conflict, avoidance, or betrayal. When someone starts acting in ways that create confusion or suspicion, it erodes the emotional stability of the bond. For a Sigma, who thrives on clarity, independence, and truth, this kind of ambiguity is unacceptable. You don't demand obedience, you expect mutual clarity. You're not asking for control, you're watching for patterns. And when the pattern screams dishonesty, your silence speaks volumes. That's the Sigma code. You don't force someone to be honest. You let them who they are. And once they do, you decide whether they still earn a place in your world. Entertaining? Maybe. But this is also a masterclass in self-respect. While the world scrambles for attention and validation, Sigmas remain anchored in principle. If someone can't match your level of emotional integrity, you walk quietly, confidently, and without drama. Remember, being Sigma isn't about isolation, it's about elevation. If she's choosing secrecy, then you choose distance. And that's not revenge, that's strategy. Point 5, why don't you trust me? She cheats. You ask questions, and suddenly the spotlight shifts. Why don't you trust me? She snaps. This isn't just a deflection. It's a psychological tactic known as guilt tripping. Instead of addressing the issue, she flips the script to make feel like the unfaithful one. It's a classic manipulation strategy used to dodge accountability and reclaim control of the narrative. In psychology, this is often linked to emotional gaslighting, where the guilty party redirects attention to your reaction instead of their actions. Here's the catch. Most people fall for it. Why? Because humans are wired for connection. We want to believe the people we love wouldn't hurt us, but Sigma males, they're wired a little differently. Sigmas aren't blinded by emotional theatrics. They operate on data, not drama. When a Sigma senses deception, he doesn't throw a tantrum. He observes, he connects dots. He tracks inconsistencies in words, behavior, and timing. That delayed text, that girl's night out that didn't add up, the sudden secretive behavior, all of it becomes evidence in the mental file cabinet. And when he confronts the issue, he's not looking for a dramatic scene. He's testing the emotional integrity of the relationship. If she answers with accusations rather than explanations, that's not love. It's manipulation. Trust is not an entitlement. It's a currency earned through consistent honesty. And when someone tries to guilt you into silence, what they're really saying is, don't question the lie I'm trying to protect. Here's the Sigma truth. Guilt is not proof of love, facts are. And if trust has been broken, it wasn't by your suspicion, it was by her decision. So don't fall for the guilt manipulation, fall for the truth. Because emotional maturity isn't about avoiding uncomfortable conversations, it's about facing them with clarity, courage, and conviction. Point 6, it was just a mistake. Sigmas, let's take a moment to decode a common lie many people tell themselves. Cheating is just a mistake. It's a phrase tossed around casually, as if a slip-up in judgment can be waved away with a simple apology. But here's the truth. Cheating is not a mistake. It's a deliberate choice. It involves a series of intentional actions, secretive texts, late-night calls, hidden meetups, and ultimately, betrayal that cuts deeper than just a moment of weakness. Psychologists who study relationship behavior emphasize that cheating is a process, not an accident. It's the result of ongoing decisions made over time, often involving emotional and physical distancing from the partner. So, when someone calls cheating a mistake, it's usually an attempt to avoid taking full responsibility for the damage caused. Now here's where Sigmas stand apart. You're known for your independence, self-reliance, and not needing constant validation from others. The idea of being alone doesn't scare you because you're comfortable in your own company. What you truly fear is deception, being lied to, manipulated, and disrespected. Trust is a foundation that, once broken, is incredibly hard to rebuild. It's important to recognize the mindset behind someone who cheats and then plays the victim. Often their regret isn't for the betrayal itself, but for getting caught. This is a crucial distinction. Genuine remorse comes with accountability and a desire to make amends. When the focus is solely on how the cheating was exposed rather than on the pain caused, it's a red flag. For Sigmas who value honesty and integrity, understanding this dynamic helps protect your emotional energy. It's about setting standards that reflect your worth and refusing to settle for less. After all, the strongest people aren't those who never face betrayal. They're the ones who refuse to let it define them. Point 7. You're just being controlling. Sigma males have a reputation for being fiercely independent, and that independence extends deeply into their relationships. Unlike other personality types who might try to control or micromanage their partners, Sigmas are often the least controlling people you'll meet. They value freedom, both theirs and others, above all else. They don't chase people down or obsessively check up on them. Instead, they give others space to be authentic and true to themselves. This approach comes from a place of confidence and self-assurance. Sigmas don't need constant validation or reassurance. They trust themselves, and they trust others to act with integrity. So when a Sigma finally draws a boundary, sets a standard, or questions something that doesn't feel right, it's not about control, it's about respect and self-respect. Here's where the irony kicks in. When the Sigma tries to hold firm to these boundaries, sometimes the response they get is a sharp accusation that they're controlling. This is a classic red flag. Why? Because setting boundaries is a fundamental part of any healthy relationship, not a form of control. Psychologists and relationship experts agree that healthy boundaries help maintain respect, trust, and balance. Boundaries are about defining what you will and won't tolerate. They protect your emotional well-being and clarify expectations. When someone tries to shame you for standing up for yourself or maintaining your standards, it's often a way to avoid accountability or manipulate you into lowering your expectations. For Sigma males, this is a non-negotiable. They don't compromise their standards just to keep the peace or avoid conflict. That's because they know the value of self-respect and personal integrity, cornerstones of their identity. So if a partner calls your healthy boundaries controlling, it's time to take a closer look at the relationship. Because respect isn't optional, and neither is holding your ground. Point 8, I need space, suddenly. Space in a relationship is healthy and often necessary. It allows both partners to maintain individuality, reflect, and recharge emotionally. Taking breaks or needing time alone is normal and can strengthen the bond. But when someone suddenly says, I need space, right after acting distant, hiding their phone, or changing their behavior, it's a red flag. Not genuine space, but staging. In relationship psychology, staging refers to subtle signs or actions someone uses to create distance while testing other options outside the relationship. Research shows that people who feel dissatisfied or uncertain might seek emotional or physical connections elsewhere before making a final decision. Asking for space under these circumstances can be a tactic to explore alternatives without confrontation. If you sense you're being pushed away without clear reasons, trust your instincts. It's not about losing someone to a better person, but losing them to someone they believe they can deceive more easily. This kind of emotional manipulation often precedes betrayal, so paying attention to these signs is crucial for protecting your emotional well-being and making informed decisions about the relationship's future. Sigmas, listen closely. You were never meant to blend in with the crowd. You don't play games. You don't need drama. And most importantly, you don't tolerate betrayal. If she says any of these things, take a step back, reevaluate, because the real strength of a Sigma male isn't in how long he stays. It's in knowing exactly when to leave. Remember, you are the lone wolf. You walk alone, but you walk with purpose. And the right one won't cheat. She'll cherish you. So stay sharp, stay wise, and never ever apologize.